I'm imitating Sam here because he does his countdown and says, "Okay, now we're live." So you taught software engineering before at Miami?
At Miami, and then also at Worcester Polytech. I taught it at the grad level while I was in graduate school.
Okay.
So I've been teaching it for, I was trying to think how many years it's been. I think, I want to say 11 years, I think. So yeah, that seems right, because 9 years at Miami and then 2 years before that. So I've been teaching it a long time, but you know, as more and more industry is going more and more into agile, the textbooks haven't so much, and I kind of ended up with this kind of weird hybrid where I'm teaching them about agile and having the students do web development, but then they're doing unit testing using JUnit, and it was just, the disconnect was just too frustrating. And I do like, I found this book at SIGSE sitting on a table and thought, oh, this looks very promising. So.
Got it. Okay, and in fact, the questions I'm asking you are all ones that I have my own answers to. So I'm happy to reciprocate. But what level are your have your students been, or will they be? What's the general class size?
So I've taught students in the past from the graduate level, where at WPI it was at a satellite campus. So I had a lot of students. I had one student who'd been a software architect for 25 years, all the way down to fairly recent graduates. At Miami, I started out teaching it to seniors, and we kept moving the class down a level until it hit the 200 level, although at the 200 level I would still get, I haven't had one graduate student last semester, so you would kind of have weird mix of students. Here I'm going to have, here it's kind of interesting. I didn't really know what I was doing when I set, I had to set the course up months before I actually got here. And you can actually set up bins where you say, I'm going to take this many seniors, this many juniors, this many majors and non-majors. You can kind of fairly fine-tune it. So I think I have 4 sophomores, and then the rest are all juniors and seniors, and I have about 6 more on the wait list. So the class is capped at 19, which I have, but since I'm hoping that by adding in the auto-grading, I can just let the rest in, because here it's a little bit different, because I don't know how often I'll get to teach the class, because we have much smaller faculty, so it may only be every other year. So I kind of feel, I feel worse about telling students, especially those who are seniors, you can't learn about software engineering because I don't want to have to do too much grading, right?
That's going to be tough, because there's so much new. I mean, unless you're like really familiar with all this stuff, but to me, there's so much new ideas and new technology that even after having done it, can't even remember whether it's 3 or 5 times, I'm still like, learning a lot and feeling my way around. So if you're only going to get to do it,
I did this. I just did the every other year. I just did the MOOC, so at least I've gone through the material.
Okay, hold on just a second. Rose is trying to join, and she's on Skype and having a little issue. Okay, I'm just going to pop in the link to her again. What may have happened, I started a Hangout and then was just sort of playing around with things. I started it early, and one of the things that I clicked closed it. So that may have been, you didn't have a problem getting in. Did you get in through Skype or from the Agile Ventures site, Janet?
The Agile Ventures site.
Okay, so I'll tell her that. Well, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, my classes, in contrast, I have 2 sections. both at 55 students. Okay, Rose is here, so you found it, Rose.
Finally, yeah. How you doing?
Just for background, and this is a, a different Janet. I guess you haven't intersected when we had about 3 or 4 or 5 with another Janet from Iowa somewhere, and this Janet is from Civilization in the Northeast.
Where? Where in the Northeast? Connecticut? Oh, Connecticut. Okay. So we're almost neighbors.
Oh, and where are you?
New York, Binghamton, New York.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so my classes I had 2 sections of 55 students each. So that's like a whole sort of world of difference. It means, the classroom is packed and I can't, give the kind of individual attention. That's one of the things that makes me freak out about teaching this class. Doing it with 20 students, man, that would be such a luxury. You could like really deal with issues. And the students, once the class gets that size, they don't interact with each other the same way. And I have 2 of these, so I have like 110 to deal with in some other classes of the same. The other issue that I have is that even though I'm trying to change the prerequisites to make it more of a junior and senior level class, the prerequisites only have a sort of our second CS course, which is really just deals with basic Java programming, object-oriented. So students are able to take this too early before they before they've done anything with data structures or algorithms or databases or anything. And even though I sort of warn the students and say, look, this is really geared to later in your career, and I'm hoping to even change that in their academic career, not everyone. If they can take it, they take it, and I sort of have to deal with that fallout. But probably, other than sort of introductions, what I think would probably be most interesting is sort of just a quick way to answer any questions you have. I'm by no means the expert, but I've been through this a bunch of times. So, and Rose, how many times have you done it? Once or twice?
Twice.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be my 3rd. Hopefully 3's a charm. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
You're not reassuring me.
Well, I mean, it's challenging. It's challenging.
I was telling Richard it's going to be my first class at the new job.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I think the big win in my mind, will be the fact that you don't have a huge class size.
Oh yeah.
And that you'll be able to, so look, part of the deal of dealing with, or part of what's involved in dealing with any of the software engineering, any of the issues you're going to have with the course, they're going to mirror issues that professionals, engineers, and especially computer people have on the job. You read, you do stuff, the documentation really doesn't correspond to to reality. Things don't work as they're supposed to, even after they are working and you get them, then things change out from under you, that new issues come out that other people haven't seen. So all the stuff that happens in the course is all stuff that happens in real life.
Yeah, it's a very real world.
Want something like completely canned, and it's like, okay, I want this like sort of totally worked out like I've had in my classrooms. They're the students that complain. The other students that sort of realize, hey, this course is like the thing that mirrors real life as opposed to academic life, they really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the things, and I don't know if you guys have hit this yet, that we hit during the MOOC is our spec came out with a breaking upgrade about maybe 2 days after the start of the RSpec homework this summer.
Okay, so here's what I would say about that, and I sort of throw it back at you. The course uses a virtual machine with particular versions of all the tools, like sort of pre-configured, pre-installed. So were you using the virtual machine and doing the MOOC?
I was. The upgrade came out. As I said, it came out basically 2 days before the assignment started.
But who's up RSpec's upgrade, right?
Yeah.
So how did that filter into your virtual machine?
Well, what it filtered in was the when you were setting up the gems, they didn't the files didn't have you specify which version you wanted to use.
Oh.
So it was defaulting to the most current.
Mhm.
Okay, then that, in some ways that could be either a bug, or, let me put it this way: the whole idea of the virtual machine, or one of the key ideas of the virtual machines, is to insulate us and the class from those changes, and they, basically they should come installed with a particular version of RSpec, and that should be what's referenced. Now, in all the, in the environments and the gem files and so forth, the virtual machine does have the ability to do updates, and some people recommend doing the updates, and some people, like I tend to tell my students, avoid it and don't worry about, it just has the potential to mess things up. So I'm a little bit, and this is probably where Sam, who's a little bit working a little bit more closely, I'm a little bit sort of curious about why that update hit. Where we do have issues is when we use online services, and Heroku is notorious in that. In other words, no matter how much we have things sort of nailed down in our virtual machine, when you're deploying to Heroku, you're deploying to an online live service, and if they change some of their parameters or protocols or configuration, that's going to affect us, no matter what. We can't insulate ourselves from that. So that's sort of a good issue, to figure out what's going on with the particular RSpec thing you hit.
Yeah, and I know a lot of other students have the same thing. I had installed my virtual machine a couple months before the class started, but that shouldn't have. Yeah, it was just odd. It was just odd, but
And there will be, no matter. I mean, and when I'm explaining this, I thought that the virtual machine would totally. When I first came to this, I figured, oh, great idea. Virtual machine totally prevents. We don't have to have the students installing software. It'll prevent version incompatibilities and upgrades and all. And I thought it would totally solve sort of all problems that way, and it by far did not. For one reason or another, these things do have come up and continue to come up. So even though I'm sort of questioning, it seems like that shouldn't have happened with the RSpec thing in particular, this is the kind of stuff, yes, that we do deal with all the time. If the students, and we find it, whoever figures it out, the instructor or another student will figure out okay, here's here's the little magic command or thing that you have to do to fix it, and things can be all well and good after that, as long as the students are not ready for rebellion.
Yeah, I just figured I'd throw it out in case you guys hit it, because
oh, absolutely.
It was interesting. We talk about it in the forums. I'd run into this, finally posted on a forum, and somebody else said, "Oh, here's how you check your versions," and I had found the bit online about the breaking revision, and wondered if that was it. So once I got it confirmed, it was easy to get it. It's just adding a version number in the gem file, but
okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was literally.
But it was certainly, kind of a pain to deal with until you knew what it was.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, the gem file that comes prepackaged with various projects, etc., doesn't always lock everything down. If it locked everything down, then it would definitely be seamless. But when you find something that's not locked down, that needs to be, and you don't want to deal with the update, it's not that hard to do. But it's realizing that there's been an update, and then finding the version that you want to lock it to, so you don't use the updated version.
Now, do you guys use all of the assignments from the course as well as doing projects on top of it?
Here's what I do, and my students I'm at UNC Charlotte,
okay.
And I don't find that the department has gotten relatively big, and they're recruiting people left and right, come join computer science. So I don't think it's like very selective. So we have students of all sort of ranges and abilities, and including students that are not all that strong. So I don't feel I can do like anything like the Berkeley content and pace. So what I do in my class is I include 1 and 2. I leave some stuff out. I leave out like the JavaScript. In the past, this is what I've done. I've left out JavaScript and advanced Rails. I do not do projects in that class, and I've used most of the homework assignments. But I even have to see like what Sam has come up with or how the MOOC has changed. I haven't really like looked at it, but we do the the intro, very easy Ruby assignment, or supposedly very easy. That was one that I was involved in instigating adding, and it was done in Berkeley as a classroom exercise. And I said, I want to give this to my students and make it online. Then the more interesting Ruby stuff, and then the Rails stuff we do. Sam does has them do a walkthrough of Chapter 4, which is like building the Rails app, which I've tried to do and tried to make it part of like an assignment. The RSpec and the Cucumber, and then there's a final like sort of project which is on Legacy, which I used only once because it's a little bit longer and trickier. Many other instructors do make projects out of it, do have students doing projects, and that's the real payoff. I leave that to another course, both with a combination of the time that I have and the students that I have, and also the number of students that I have. Doing all this and dealing with 55 students in a project course is a whole other deal. So.
That would be so unrealistic to even attempt, without any like massive amounts of help.
Yeah.
That many
and I actually taught for the first time last semester in the spring. I taught the project course, and I did in one of my sections. I did have 55 students in it, and whatever.
Oh, wow.
So what do you do, Rose?
Well, I do have, so far have projects in my class, although so far they've been pretty simple. And I'm hoping that over time, part of it too is I think we have to master everything. It's not something that the first time you teach it, I think that everyone is going to know everything about it. I'm finding that every semester I'm seeing, new things, and I'm understanding things better, and I'm therefore able to convey a lot of the material perhaps better. So I started off, kind of limiting the projects to very simple things, and I'm hoping over the next year or so to expand them somewhat. My class size, it sounds like it's between yours and Richard's, which, again, I think anything over 20 or so is very challenging. And I've so far gotten up through the Legacy, but that's it. I didn't even attempt to go further last semester, although this semester I've prepared some material that hopefully will take us further.
So
when you say the Legacy, do you mean the assignment or the part
the assignment?
Okay.
The assignment, yeah.
What assignment is there after Legacy?
There's another one. I can't think of what it is.
Okay.
There's one with just adding a couple indices to a database.
Yeah, okay, that one.
Oh, okay.
Like
maybe.
10 minutes. So.
That's a performance one, and that's like a.
Oh, that's right.
Right. I've assigned that a couple of times, but really all you have to do is, watch the lecture and, follow a couple of lines of instruction. That's much, much smaller.
Yeah. Janet, what is your class makeup like?
So I am going to have, it's going to be kind of all over the place. I have 4 to be a mix of juniors and seniors with maybe a little more seniors.
I see.
They'll have had the introductory sequence through data structures.
Okay.
I'm going to try to do projects.
I'll tell you.
Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that the semester that I did it the first time, anyone who had at least data structures, so I had a lot of sophomores, could sign up for the course, and it was a train wreck. The students just were not mature enough, and what I found, and I think Richard can probably attest to this, is these students hadn't come yet to the realization that when they get out in the real world, they have to do actual, thinking and working on their own, and everything isn't going to be spoon-fed. And all they did was whine, and it was a terrible experience for everyone, I think. Now the juniors and seniors performed very well. Last year, they changed the numeric designation of the course so that only juniors and seniors could take it. And what I found was that juniors and first semester seniors were highly motivated and did very well. Last semester seniors, final semester seniors, they did well, but they weren't so motivated. So I think there's a sweet spot for this course. I mean, my feeling, and this is borne out, and again, I've only taught it twice, but in the 2 times I've taught it, it seems that my best students and my most motivated students were juniors and first semester seniors.
So I think, those smart guys that made computers easier to use, which, has a lot of benefits, has sort of like, I think, really hurt the computer science curriculum, and it sort of comes to a head in this class because people are used to computers being fun and simple and friendly and easy to use, and people come in and, I want to major in computers because I like, I'm good with computers, and what good with computers means that they know how to send email and they
play video games
and so forth, and then but back in the day, and I'll flatter you, Janet, by saying maybe you weren't involved with computers, at this, in the 60s and 70s, right? It was like the nerds, and like computers were cryptic, and like people who got into the computers were people who sort of liked figuring out and solving those problems and dealing with that, and there's a good percentage of students today that, like Rose was saying, just get annoyed. Oh, things are not working as as you said they would. Well, fix that, and call me back when you fix your assignment. And it's like, no, well, okay.
That is your assignment, to figure it out. That's one of the things. Actually, the very first week, I try to really emphasize the fact that this course is very much even. In some ways, they're going to be assigning themselves work, so to speak, all right? Not, just taking whatever I dish out to them. So, for instance, with the project, etc., they're going to have to determine what work they have to do. And that's a whole different way of thinking. It's not going to be any kind of spoon-fed stuff. They're going to have to think. It's going to be a lot of seat-of-the-pants stuff. Things are not going to go well, and that's all part of the learning experience. They have to know in the workplace how to deal when things aren't going their way. And if they don't like that, I tell them it's just too bad. And for those students who think, oh, I'm great with computers, I say to them, look, there's a big difference between traveling in an airplane, all right, where you board the plane and everything's done for you, piloting the plane, right, where you have to know more about it, and designing the aircraft itself. Computer scientists are the people who design the aircraft itself, all right? We're not just pilots, and we're certainly not travelers. And until they get that mindset, they're going to not be going about software engineering the right way.
Yeah, that I actually like. If I had a little Facebook like icon, I would click it now.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, well, a lot of the students just don't get it. And, you know, software today is so ubiquitous. I mean, like, look at the bad software in the braking systems, right? I mean, you know, bad software can kill people in a hurry. That's the other thing I tell my students. You know, a bad surgeon can injure or kill one patient at a time. A poor software engineer can literally, you know, injure or maim or kill, you know, thousands at a time. You know, let's say you're responsible for the navigation system on an aircraft. Well, you screw that up, and you know your airplane flies into a mountain. Not so pretty.
I actually have a good example of software delays killing people. So years ago,
Really?
years ago, pre-PhD, I worked for Raytheon in the Boston area for 11 years, and
Right.
I had left, and I was on an emailing list called the X-Rays. There was kind of this massive exodus from Raytheon in the kind of in the mid '90s, and there had been they did air traffic control. And one of the systems they were working on was the new system for India.
Oh.
And there was a horrific plane crash, and it was blamed on the antiquated air traffic control system.
Sure. Yeah.
And the folks on that list who had worked on the new system that was had not been delivered yet because it was behind schedule were just devastated.
Yeah.
I mean, they really felt responsible that, you know, if, you know, now of course, you know, if they'd rushed things out to delivery, you know, who knows how many worse things could happen. But, you know, it was certainly an interesting, you know, these implications of careers people don't think about. So.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I like to pass around to my students is the software engineering notes. I'm trying to think, what is that, ACM or IEEE? I forget. But there's the column risks to the public, right? And, you know, every quarter they come out with all these accidents, problems, issues. I remember, in particular, some years ago, there was an article that talked about how they were working on a system that used Wi-Fi to control train engines in the what do they call it? The tailings or whatever it is, where they put the trains away for repair and maintenance. And they had this. They would have somebody in a tower who, through Wi-Fi, would control the engine and send it down, you know, one track or another, so that it would go into the proper bay for maintenance or repair. And in risk to the public, a number of people criticized that and said, you know, Wi-Fi is not secure. It is prone to interference and all kinds of problems, and that this was a very unsafe design. And sure enough, the next set of engineering notes came out with several cases around the world where, you know, the people had been killed because the person trying to control the train wasn't able to. And in one case, it actually crashed into the tower of the guy who was controlling the train. So, you know, these things happen every day.
Now, an interesting thing, we should sort of figure out, like, what we want to do. I want to say to wrap up, but just not to, like, go on all, all day. But one of the interesting things, the things that you guys are talking about are also things that are, I would, you know, at least in my opinion, are sort of antithetical to the agile. So as we bring up these examples to our students, you know, there's and as the course focuses on agile, and perhaps we will because of the classroom environment, and stuff is talked about in the lecture about this, but you know, probably all those examples of where software engineering needs to be done sort of better or different in causing the problems, they're probably also not agile processes that would be used for that, and that's a good thing to emphasize.
Can I make a comment here?
Yes.
Most of these disasters, all right, are the result of process models that, yes, they did not use Agile, all right? Now the question is, therefore, these other, plan and document, one of the main reasons that we use plan and document or big design up front, is to prevent these things from happening, but historically they have not prevented them from happening. And personally, I want to posit that Agile might, in some cases, be a better methodology for some of these safety-related programs, because you try it, you test it immediately, the testing is very thorough, you understand the behavior, you're working closely with the customer. If you look at historically at a lot of the reasons why these accidents have occurred, it turns out a lot of it has to do with things like poor customer communication, poor testing, a lot of things that in fact Agile addresses.
Yeah, and my reaction to that, I still don't think Agile is the right way to design, like a plane or an air traffic control system. But in any event, what I think is not debatable is that this is a good opportunity for any kind of sort of class discussion.
Mm-hmm.
About the sort of the pros and cons and so forth. If you have a class that's that you can do that with, that it's a little bit. I try and do that to some extent. It's not as easy with my large class sizes.
Oh yeah, that's challenging.
Yeah,
that is really tough. Back when I was working at Link, because that's my background, I used to work for Link Flight Simulation. When we were working on the Apache prototype, we were behind schedule, so they brought the pilots in for the final year of development. And what would happen is the pilots would work on the system all day, and at the end of the day we'd have a meeting, and they would talk about everything in the various systems that they liked, they didn't like, problems they saw, etc. And then we would work all night on doing another round of changes and building a new load and then testing that new load. I mean, I used to go in at 4 o'clock every morning, and we'd be running missions and testing from 4 to 8 every day. In essence, I know several people who are involved in the Agile movement who said that we were actually doing an Agile workflow during that year, and we produced some of the best software we ever had. And in fact, at the end of that, it was our simulator won the Daedalian Award. It was actually the first time a simulator had won that defense award. And a lot of us believe it was because of that Agile-like workflow. Not entirely Agile-like, all right, because it wasn't like we did test first, but it certainly we did the code and the testing, concurrently. You know what I'm saying? It was like everything up to but not including test first. And I think that stuff checked out very well, the stuff we were doing in Plane.
Yeah. So Janet, are there any other sort of kinds of just questions or any way that we can give you warmer feelings? I think, if you're looking for hey,
have to get past that word train wreck now.
Yeah, and Rose, I think part of the issue, I was there when Rose was dealing with the train wreck, which her so-called train wreck, and part of that had to do, I think, she said it was due to the group of students, but I think
that was part of it.
Right. All I was going to say, it was a confluence because
it was everything.
It was also real new to Rose, and I think she would have been able to handle the same group of students better the second time, or her second group of students would have been better for her the first time. So it was those two things together that made it less than optimal.
Yeah. But there was a third thing, which is that Rails was updated, and we hadn't locked anything down, and I hadn't, fully understood all that at that point, and so nothing was working.
Right. But Rose, some of those things, when you say lockdown, some of that, we had that thing that those of us who have sort of been through it before, that's not been hadn't been well articulated in the beginning. Like when you do, you got to do like your bundle exec cucumber, your bundle exec RSpec, and I think
I mean, we were doing that, but what the part I didn't understand is that I could have obviated a lot of these problems by just locking down the version of Rails, locking down these things, and avoided a whole lot of agita. But I didn't know that at the time. But see, that I think, I mean, I think what Sam is, I'm sorry, I think what Richard is saying, and what I should emphasize is, I know my first time was really difficult, but yours won't be, because we've kind of already been through that, and we have fixes, we have kind of protocols in place, and we have this discussion every week. So you're probably going to have a lot more smooth sailing regardless of your student makeup.
Yeah,
and you have a smaller class.
Right, and I'm really, I think the having all the sort of the newer instructors is really going to be a help, because everyone will be sort of helping each other, and issues will get raised and resolved. And your class is starting, if I'm seeing, at the beginning of September.
Yeah.
So not being the first, unfortunately, I'm one of the first people on the list because my semester starts in a couple of weeks. So all that I think will be a help, and then and if you have good students, they'll appreciate it. But anything on the actual sort of like logistics or using the Spocks or anything like that, or just to
So one question I had, I was able to get into the Spock and adjust some of the dates, but I haven't found anything about. So for example, with the auto grading, I'd like to be able to set it up like they did with the MOOC, where it will, if things are turned in past a certain point, it does grading penalties.
Okay. Yeah, I can speak to that. Look, the way it's, I know what you're talking about with the way that it's done with the MOOC. We can set it up that way by putting in certain dates in the AutoGrader, and I think even you as the instructor can do that. What our feeling is that, and I did that for the first time with one of my assignments last semester, and then after that we just left it open, because what happens is that there wasn't, the way this AutoGrader is set up within the Spock, there really isn't enough configuration flexibility so that things will get locked out when you don't really want them to get locked out. Things, if you need to update or change the penalties, and how it computes and where it computes the penalties was like sort of more trouble than it was worth. So we just sort of, I'll tell you what I did is I just left it like open, put in a due date, and then I would take snapshots of the grade. So I took a snapshot when it was due, I took a snapshot a week or two later, and then with a little Excel manipulation I could assign any penalties. The downside of it is that the students don't necessarily see the penalties in their grade in the Spock, but the upside is you don't have to deal with things being locked out and penalized. And I don't even know when you change the dates in the middle. Like sometimes you need, you want to give an extension or right. And I don't even know, like, well, what happens pre-penalty and post-penalty, and what if they resubmit? I mean, all sorts of things with that. So you're right. That's an area that is problematic, and you can speak to me and the other instructors. This is what we deal to get an idea of like what will work best for you.
Okay. So what I'm planning on doing with the class, and let me run this by you guys. So what I was planning on doing was doing the homeworks, stopping before we got to the legacy, and then do you guys do the pair programming?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have. Sam is like super big on the pair programming. I'm like sort of being dragged, kicking and screaming into doing that, And Sam teaches a totally online class, so he has this sort of online pairing, and the students, by their nature, are like online doing their work. For me, I have an in-person class, and so what I tried to do last semester, not fully successfully, is use a lot of class time for having them work on the assignments and like having my TAs and other students available to help. And I sort of asked them to pair with people and even to change things around, but definitely the changing didn't happen, and the pairing happened maybe effectively with a quarter of the students, quarter to a third of the students. And what I'm going to try and figure out, what I'm struggling to figure out is in a classroom of my size, how I can, like, I think I need to force pairs and force changing and give those assignments, but it's a pain in the butt when people come in late and don't show up and, you know, aren't aware, and they, you know, the classroom is crowded and they sit down. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to deal with it. With a class of 20 men, I would, you know, no problem. You can pair people up. You can do it, like, let them do it themselves. You can force it, whatever you want to do, and have them change things around. That would be something cool to do both inside a class and also offer outside.
Yeah, I do have some class periods set aside where I'm not going to be doing any lecture, where I figured they could either do the pair programming, work on the homeworks, do their projects. I'm going to start the project a little later in the semester because Wesleyan does this thing for the very first 2 weeks of the classes. The students can do all the shopping around they want.
Yeah.
So I won't really know who my class is until week 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, and then yeah, and I'm planning on, and I don't know, this may change. I'm planning on doing the lecturing myself, but having the videos be available.
Okay.
I did a hybrid class a year ago with machine learning, where I'd gotten permission from Coursera to use the videos. And what I found was it really didn't feel like my class at all. It was very disconnecting. Do you guys use the videos or lecture? Or?
Yeah. My thing, I mean, when you say what you're saying, I feel like you're a better man than I, because I don't feel as comfortable with the Ruby and the Rails and the RSpec and the Cucumber and all that technical stuff that, you know, especially Armando can blast through. And they have it done sort of very efficiently. So what I do is I assign the lectures as, like, you know, in a flipped classroom way to watch at home. I give them, you know, an alleged quiz, an online quiz that they need to take, which is, you know, if they're, at least encourages them to really watch the videos. And then the class time I'll either use for lab, or I go through and you know, pick my own things to elaborate on. But I don't feel like I can do a better job of the video stuff, and I think, you know, I think it's valuable enough, even though some of the students don't appreciate it. I think it's valuable enough that for them to spend the, you know, hour and a half, whatever, they'll get a lot out of that, and then I can, you know, sort of riff on the things that I either take issue with, that I want to elaborate, that we would love to have discussions with. So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah, I agree with that, because then it saves a lot of class time. And I find that you know, when they get to Ruby, when they get to Rails, it's helpful to have the time to, you know, be available to help students who are having issues and problems, etc. So, like Richard, I may elaborate a little bit on stuff, or bring up certain, you know, emphasize certain topics, or discuss certain topics that aren't in the book at all.
Right, right, and that's a way. Another thing, Janet, you could, you know, think about doing is pulling out some of your favorite stuff from your prior classes and give those as lectures, and still, you know, and use the Berkeley stuff as, you know, as backup to cover some of the core material.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, because one of my worries that I'm going to have with this. You know, with the new job, new school, you know, I'm on a very short tenure clock since I had tenure already, is that I don't want it to look too much like I'm outsourcing, right? I think there's certain expectations at a small liberal arts school that I haven't quite figured out what they all are, but I need to. So I'm worried, you know. So I'm trying to get the right balance where I want to take advantage of the material, and obviously, I'm certainly not going to do as good a job as Armando's lectures are just amazing. But I have to try to figure out what. You know what the students are going to. Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. What I may do is I may pick and choose.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe I have some of it because I can certainly do a lot of the the talk to the plan and document and all of that quite well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the advantage.
I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the advantage is that you can pick and choose. Hey, do all of you have your Spocks already?
Sam created one for me. I really haven't used it because I've dealt with the Spock before, and he said that he's going to be updating it. But if you don't have one, Rose, you may not.
I don't have one.
You may not have gotten to him before he left for Japan, and he was sort of creating those and sending them out in a real flurry just before he was leaving.
Sure.
So. He was off for about a week, and now he's sort of back on the email. So if you haven't sort of sent an email to him or through the BetaSaaSers, go do that. And I think I saw him in the email list. He created a few for some people just recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
he
I'll have to
part
do that.
one for me, but I think he's waiting on the part twos.
Yeah, the part two. Don't hold your breath on the part two.
Right.
Just like he said, even though. I mean, we as Spock instructors would like them to be combined into one course. For the last couple of years, I've actually had them as two Spocks because edX doesn't have the tools to merge material into an existing course. They have tools to build courses, but once the course is built, like adding stuff in a batch way, the only good way they have to do that sort of resets all the grading and stuff, so you really don't want to do that.
Is there any way that I could get access to either of your Spocks in the meantime, just so that I could see the ordering, and not to change anything or to mess with it, but just to kind of see?
Well, wouldn't that ordering be the same I think it would be the same as the MOOC.
Would it be?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any major difference. But
well, Janet would know that, right?
Yeah, so it's it's the same as the MOOC by default, and then I reordered mine because I'm actually stretching. I'm stretching out the first couple of weeks because obviously I can't make my students do a week -1 and week 0, and then I decided to put all the Ruby stuff together and move a few things around. So. But yeah, it's exactly the same as the.
So if I look at the MOOC, I'll be all set.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Hey,
and in addition, if you send the email out to Sammy, he'll either respond and create it for you, or tell you, hey, wait a minute, because of some good reason.
Oh yeah, sure. Also, it occurred to me, I was working on this. Material for revision control, the part this semester where I'm going to have them use Git immersion and things like that. And it occurred to me, because I was thinking about where all the various artifacts for a project are kept. Of course, we've got all the software and the tests, etc., being kept in GitHub or whatever. And then the progress of a project is tracked on Pivotal Tracker. But what about the lo-fi user interfaces and storyboards? Do you guys keep them in Pivotal Tracker or on GitHub or on both, or any feeling about that?
This is for student projects?
Yeah.
Okay. What I don't do the projects in my version of this class.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Last semester, when I did teach a separate projects course, I was doing that for the first time, and I just let people like sort of I encouraged Pivotal Tracker. I encouraged some tools, but I let them use what they wanted because I had, I had teams and I had a TA help. So I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay, because I mean, I know you can track all kinds of things on Pivotal Tracker. I just wasn't sure how well it's set up to handle things like electronic versions of images, and if you had any opinion as to whether
and that would be
better...
either a good question for the mailing list or for the next meeting when when some of the other more experienced.
Yeah. Also, remember you said agenda please add on the Agile Ventures page. How do you add things on the agenda?
In the agenda, the teleconference agenda. Now that thing that I have, are you seeing that as shared from my screen?
Well, let's see. Oh, yeah.
Okay, because, and I apologize, slightly to Janet. Most of the first portion of this recorded conference, I had, you were the only one with a picture other than me, and Russ just had our screen. So I had you watching on my screen. I realized as the recorder, whatever I'm looking at is what's recorded. So anyone watching this video will see a lot of you initially. That's why I moved it when I realized that to the agenda screen. So anyway, for me, if I go into that, hold on. Oh, look at that! I made a change and I forgot to click save. So I'll click save.
Okay.
And then here is where you can edit.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh.
And now that assumes that you are logged in. Up there.
Right.
But when I click edit, it gives me a little. There's this tool, sort of rich text kind of toolbar up there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Now I see it. I was thinking that was a broken, like a broken icon or image. It didn't occur to me that was the thing to click.
Yeah. Well, that's that user interface thing, whatever they're called. Those balloon, those yellow pop-ups.
Oh well, thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, this kind of thing is probably the most valuable things of the teleconference because a lot of the substantive questions can be better in email or whatever, but sometimes there's like little things like that that's just easier to show and tell and talk about.
Right,
okay, so we're gone almost an hour. Any other things? And
well, just thank you, Richard.
Yeah, well, I'm like.
Thank you both so much. I know this is the newest one. I've got a lot of questions, and it's I do feel a lot better about doing this, knowing that I'll be able to talk to other people who've been through it.
Yeah, and I did it the first time I did it. It was like Sam was there, but like everyone was just so complimentary to Armando and Dave. It's like, oh, this is great. Thank you for doing this stuff. And there were, I'll tell you, there were no AutoGraders. Like they said,
are you serious?
AutoGraders, and I had to like build my, we had to build our own and this and that. So I was like very, very much on my own. So having other people around will definitely be good. And Sam is, incredibly good about doing all the dog and detail work and keeping on track of things. I don't know how he does it. He even has a family. He's probably, I don't know why he's not divorced.
Yeah, I tell you, between you and Sam, I think the two of you are amazing. I think you two have really held this together and caused so much improvement. And again,
I raise a lot of issues and make a lot of complaints.
Exactly.
The one that solves
and that's so but that's so important. That's so critical because until there was a voice to do that, I think everything was just going to kind of stay as status quo. And I think because of a lot of the things that you brought up, it's now an evolving course, not something that's, just kind of sitting there like a big rock.
Yeah. So it's good, we definitely don't want to discourage people because the more people, the better the thing will be. I mean, to extend the more people like sort of intelligently doing this. and we'll be able to help each other and bat around ideas. And as I get to organizing, I put in like an agenda. I copied it last time, and I have like a whole long series of like issues. But let me show you last week. Are you still seeing this? Yeah. So like I have like these big issues, like, you know, how to use classroom lecture time. What's the most effective way? How to do the pairing. You know, Sam does it his own way, but I think what he does doesn't. You know, because his is online, and
it's not going to work. Yeah.
You know, there's issues of, we find that when people have problems in the code, you know, Ruby problems or version mismatch problems, they wind up, you know, the students working on the assignments, it's like, well, getting the assignment like in and graded and a good mark on it is all that's important, and you wind up missing, like, no, what's the point of the assignment? And so, like, what are the big issues that we want to make sure that some of the, like, you know, problems that they incur when that students get into when they deal with Rails and these tools, that they don't like lose sight of the big issues of. So that's the thing. And then I'm like, you know, I think the students need more time than the Berkeley students seem to sort of get in the course. And so I think they need like Ruby tutorials and regular expression tutorials and Rails and Git. And so finding, you know, there have been ones that are recommended, but they're not necessarily fully vetted. And like sometimes someone finds, hey, this is a new great tutorial, and I'd like to assign them somehow to my students. Okay. Yeah. Issues of cheating, the fact that now that these projects have been out there for a while, the solutions are all out there, and even students who are not looking to cheat, when they Google a problem that they're having, or they Google something about the assignment, they get a solution in front of them. And man, it's when even the best of students, even me, you know, like I would look at that and I was like, you know, how much would I avert my eyes or even use it to help me figure it out, and what's appropriate with that is tough.
Yeah, it is. Well, I have to say though, having just finished the MOOC, I was surprised by how difficult it was and how little Google seemed to be helping me. I mean, I think there was one assignment fairly early on that I ran across somebody's solution up on GitHub, but you know, I was mostly finding people asking questions on Stack Overflow and getting shot down by people who recognized it as a class question.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, what I did.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, this is from EDS. You know, now, you know, we're not. Go do your own homework. It was really funny.
Yeah, but we also encourage Googling to find things, and I did that a lot when I took the MOOC. And found answers. You know, I asked like how to do a particular thing, how to turn a hash into this or that I was looking to get, and I would find answers to that, and that would help me along. You know, I just think that you know, once word gets around for anyone interested, that they'll find actual solutions, then that's a little bit of an issue, and it's, you know, something that I'd like to, you know, I think we could just because the internet and technology is the cause of that easy sort of sharing, I think there's also potential technological solutions to that too.
Right.
But I haven't, you know, once I retire, I'll start working on that.
There you go. Hey, Richard.
Yes.
If I was just thinking, if we all contribute some material, like, okay, this is for a particular week when we're covering this material in the book. This is the material I've worked up to do in class. Is there a place within this new? I know we've got this new website. We've got Slack. We've got all these different places. Is there a place now where we can sort of upload some of our stuff so that if somebody wants to use it, or you know, maybe use part of it?
The way that I would answer that is I would want to bring Sam into this, because we have that Google Sites. Which was a repository for that kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly.
And some of it could even be password protected if we needed it. And then there's going to be some stuff like on GitHub that they would say, hey, share it there. But with this move to Agile Ventures website, that's something that I'm like, only scratching the surface of understanding. And so what I think when SAM becomes available, we have to say, you know, where, you know, what's our overall organization? I think what you're asking is even part of the larger question. Where are all these materials and sort of a handbook for it? And, you know, for all I know, they've talked about handbooks and stuff. For all I know, all this stuff may be like written and documented, and I just haven't looked at it. So I would say, you know, put that as an agenda item, and even better, you know,
definitely.
I would like to start using the email list. I haven't been real good. I'm trying to squeeze out, even though I really need to be preparing for my classes, I'm trying to squeeze out the last week or two of my vacation time.
Oh, sure.
But we should be looking at that.
So is the email, is this the Google email, the Google Sites email?
I would say to BetaSaaSers. That's where I'd put it, man.
BetaSaaSers on what?
That's where I sent my message today. That's where Sam sends all his messages.
So that's the Google Sites email.
No, I'm sorry. The Google Sites, I'll show you this. Tell me, are you seeing a change? Whoa, sorry, excuse me. Are you seeing this now?
I'm not. Ah, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is the Google Sites. That's site because sites.com, you know, sites.go, that basically is a way to have like a, you know, set of web pages up, and you see all our teleconferences from our first one in 2012 that we did, you know, not audio because we were doing it by telephone before that, up until last week's one on the 29th that I did not duplicate it. Sam on the 22nd, I think, duplicated this agenda. Okay, so all our teleconference, but everything is organized here. We have, you know, big questions, notes, flipped classroom. You know, you just and Janet, you could go. If it's site, you know, even look at this URL, sites.google.com, site BetaSaaSers, and all of that is there. That was our sort of one of our repositories.
But what email list are you talking about?
The email list is where I sent the email today. Like, did you get my email?
No.
Do you get any? Have you been getting any Sam's emails?
You know, it's funny. I haven't been getting any emails. So
okay.
There are two different emailing lists, so it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one? Well, I can. Okay, let me change my thing to share desktop. Hold on, I'm not as facile. I'm working on a Mac, but I really am like, I'm doing it for a few years, but I don't feel like I'm a Mac person. So let me go into my inbox. I'll share my screen. Sorry. And so if I screen share, whoops. Screen share my screen, and then so like here, are you seeing this email thing now?
No, I'm seeing you. Hi.
Oh, I didn't click OK.
Oh, okay.
How about
now? I'm still seeing you, but it was in a window.
Let's try it once more. Wow. God, I need a shave.
You look great. You look like you're on vacation. It's cool.
See, I'm trying to get when I share the screen, I don't want it to. Now, are you seeing it? Or are you still seeing me?
Yeah, I'm still seeing you.
Oh, you know what the problem is? I bet I'm using like different desktops.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I have that problem too.
And one more time.
Yeah.
God, I hope no one sees. How about that?
Well, I'm seeing like an overlay. It's weird. It's like you overlaid on a desktop.
Well, anyway, okay, so this is too freaking complicated. But anyway, it's to Beta Engineering Long-Lasting Software, SW.
Okay, all right.
At googlegroups.com, and that's that's our main mailing list. Janet, I don't know which is the other one that you're saying you're getting email from.
So let's see. So the other one Let's see if I can. There's ESAAS-instructors at googlegroups.com.
Oh.
What was the first portion of it? What was the first portion of that instructor?
ESAAS, so ESAS-instructors at googlegroups.com.
Okay. So and I would leave it to Sam to try and sort this out because we may be in like a little bit of transition.
Yeah. Makes sense. So that'd be good for next week's agenda.
Or to send it or not to wait to send an email.
Okay.
You know, I mean, send it to both lists and say like which is what's for if it's not in the archives already.
Yeah. Hey, that at googlegroups.com, is that Google.groups or Google-groups?
Okay, let me.
Google Groups, one word.
Oh, one word.
Yeah.
Okay. And is the ESAS, is it lowercase?
Yeah, we can put it in our chat. If we open up the chat thing, we can copy it in there now. I'll do that from my side.
That would be a good idea.
And then if... God, this is a long... Okay, so this is one I just put in the chat. That's the one that I normally use. And if Janet, do you want to put in?
I'm putting the other.
Are you seeing that in the chat? If you look in the upper left of the. Oh, okay, yes. So that because I'm gonna go see. I don't even know if I'm on that one because I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, that's the one I got put on when I requested the instructor copy of the book.
Right. So there may be like the beta is like for people using the book, and this thing may be for like people using the box. And you know, just in case there wasn't a complete overlap.
Yeah, so I was added to the beta when they gave me the SPOC.
Right, that makes sense. But the other one, are you getting the beta engineering long lasting?
Yes.
Okay, so that to me that I think is the key one.
Okay. Now, originally, I remember that. Now, looking at it, originally there was a misspelling in the name of that. Was it corrected, or is there still a misspelling there, or should there be?
Well, the one that I gave you, I think, is the correct one. I mean, yes, at one point there was a misspelling, and I know because that was one of the things that I pointed out, and you know what I gave you, I think, is right.
Oh, okay, so they did fix it.
On that list, and if you're not, you got to get yourself on it one way or another.
All right, great. Well, thanks again, Richard.
And thank you so much, both of you.
Yeah, and geez, I hope you enjoy the last little bit of your vacation.
Yeah, and we're going to be, let me get back to my screen here. We are, we're going to be doing this, and we'll do it like at this time on Tuesday until we figure out a better time. As the semester starts up and so forth, we may, arrange it. A lot of it has to, it's going to be to Sam's convenience and depending on the guys from California. And they're at opposite ends of the world because California's 3 hours earlier than we are, and Sam is like 5 hours later than we are. So finding a time that's like not too early for California and not too late for Sam is problematic, but it means sort of midday usually for us. And there's no reason that people who sort of want to work together and solve a problem, if they can't solve it via email, can't just say, hey, we'll get together at a particular time and work on stuff. Sam is doing that kind of stuff all the time for his other projects.
Have you heard anything from Paul McCullough lately?
Not lately. One of his cohorts, Michael C., was jumped on the conference like sort
last
of
week.
Last week.
Yeah, yeah. I was just curious because actually he was really helpful, and there's a number of people, Paul being one of them, that if you let them know that you want to investigate something in particular, they'll set up a hangout and just work through stuff. Any one of us can do that.
Yeah, I think we don't have as much of a turnout in some way with Sam being away and it being late summer. People feel like, we're like the second rank. So when Sam gets back and things get into full swing, all those resources will come back. Or the other possibility is Paul got a job. I know he was spending all this time because he was looking for work. And
exactly. I wondered if that's what happened. But I just wanted Janet to know that that's a possibility, and by all means, put a message out there. And it's been a pleasure meeting you today. And if there's something I can do to give you a hand or whatever, I'm sure that everything's going to turn out great this semester.
It'll be an adventure.
Oh yeah. The adventure continues.
If the first class is really bad, you can just blame it on being the first class. So.
There you go, yeah.
And it's also going to be interesting because I'm the first applications person ever hired in a theory department.
Oh, wow.
So the students are like really, really wanting, and you can't get much more applied than all the stuff that's going on in this class.
Yeah. My sense of what I'm hearing, I think this will work out. Well, I definitely am not saying you won't have a lot of problems, a lot of issues, but I think all of those, probably about 80% of those can be turned into, positive sort of learning experiences. It's because it's damn it, what is it that we're doing as engineers other than solving problems?
Yeah.
So if it's not a problem, you don't need us.
Doing insane things my first year and having it work out. My previous job, the first thing I did was write a book.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
He said, don't do that. I'm like, oh, I already committed.
What book?
Rationale-based software engineering.
Oh, that sounds
exciting. Monograph on Springer. So, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was a pretty miserable experience, but it ended up bringing me some nice things as a result. So.
Oh, well, good. All right. Well, super.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Send some stuff to the list. We'll start answering questions, and I got to get in gear before you guys.
You take care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye. Good meeting you all.
All right. Good meeting you. Bye-bye.
Bye.